our devotional for today. So today, as we think about, let me put this where you can just see me at the bottom here. All right, when we think about our day, I'm going to put this down to 150 so you can see it. We're going to say, speak to the mountain today. The verse today is, say to the mountain, move. Matthew 17:20 says, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to the mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you. So when we think about the grounding here, God teaches us to speak with faith, not fear. Help me to stop magnifying what stands in front of me and starts agreeing with you. The truth is what you said, I guess. The truth here is some battles are not moved in silence. They are moments when faith must speak. If all you do is share that mountain or stare at that mountain, and think about it, describe the mountains and rehearse the size of the mountain, your mind will begin to treat that obstacle as bigger than God's promise. Faith does not deny the mountain is there. Faith speaks to it. I love that part where it says, your mind will begin to treat that obstacle as bigger than God's promise. But we don't want it to do that. If that's all you're doing is staring at what is in front of you, all of a sudden you don't think that it's possible. But faith does not deny the mountain is there. It is there. There are things that you're going to have to overcome. There are things that you will have to go through in order to make it work. But when faith speaks to it, all things are possible. We go back to Philippians 3:13. All things are possible. Christ strengthens me. Right? So some battles are not moved by silence. And I think that's where we get into. We'll just pray one time and say, God, please take this person out of my life. Or God, please make that battle go. And if you can think of your life in instances where there are moments of faith you must speak. If all you do is stare again at that mountain. Oh my gosh. So the example here is a person under pressure kept repeating the problem. A person under pressure kept repeating the problem, their mind, until it felt bigger than their hope. But when they began declaring truth over the situation instead of just describing it, we can all tell you what's going on, but when you begin to declaring truth over it, instead of just describing it, their inner pressure changed. The challenge did not always disappear overnight, but fear no longer had a full control of their thinking. I remember a season in my life when the mountains in front of me seemed so large that it dominated my thoughts. You know, that was 20 or 30 years ago, and we continue to move forward, right? I talk about consistency. I thought about while driving, while working, while trying to sleep. I replayed the problem so often that it began to feel bigger than my mind, than the God I said I trusted. What I came to realize was this. I was giving the mountain my words, my focus, and my agreement. I was not speaking faith. I was rehearsing fear. That little by little, that fear started shaping my emotions, my energy, and even my expectations. What began to change me was when I made a decision to stop describing what I saw. And this is huge right here. Stop describing what you see. Stop describing what is in front of you. And start declaring what God said. Start declaring what God said. Stop declaring, I'm going to turn this music down a little bit, probably too loud for you to even hear me here. Stop describing what began made a decision, describing what I saw and declaring what God said. I started speaking truth over the situation out loud. I began saying, God is with me. God will make a way. This will not break me. Like I said, everything works out for me in our affirmations because we got rid of distractions and trust, right? This will not break me. I will not agree with defeat. The mountain did not always move instantly, but something moved me first. My fear loosened, my faith rose, my thinking got stronger because my mouth stopped partnering with discouragement. I learned that sometimes the first mountain God moves is the one fear built in my mind. Isn't that huge? I learned that sometimes the first mountain that God moves is the one that I created, the one that I built in my mind. And if we think about how our mind works, right, this connects to self-directed neuroplasticity. Self-directed neuroplasticity, that means that your brain can be changed on purpose. But what you repeatedly focus on, speak, and believe, when you keep rehearsing fear, your brain strengthens pathways, connects to threat, hopelessness, and emotional stress. But when you intentionally speak truth and faith over a challenge, you're helping train your brain towards hope, resilience, and greater emotional regulation. What you see out loud is not just spiritual language, it's mental training. So, our heart connection today, as we think about it, what you say can either magnify the mountain or strengthen your faith. And we've talked about a lot about repeating and consistency and why we're doing it. But I also want you to be cognizant of if you can either magnify the situation that's going on by ruminating on it, that's what we talked about yesterday, or strengthening your faith. So the invitation today is, what mountains have you been talking about more than speaking to? And the difference here is we're talking about it and we're describing our problem and we're telling everybody about the problem that we have. Oh, I just realized I have the wrong, um, what do you call it on my screen? I'm going to stop my screen here. I'm going to share the actual right screen. That is the one that we are talking about today so you can see it. So I apologize. I just looked at it and realized it was the wrong screen. All right. So there we go. So this, my friend, is, no, that's the wrong screen again. Why did it do that again? I apologize. Okay. One more time. We're going to do this share screen. I'm going to click on this screen. There we go. All right. Now we got the right screen, and we'll have the right screen for the rest of the time. All right. And so when we think about, as we're going, what are you talking about more than speaking to? I'm speaking it into existence, what can happen, and speaking as if God is the person who's going to help me solve this problem instead of talking about the problem. Choose one challenge you are facing to speak to today, one truth-filled sentence over 3 times today. Do not just think it, say it out loud. And we talked a few days ago about the power of why we need to hear our words going to our mind. A short prayer: Father, help me to stop rehearsing fear and start speaking faith. Teach me to agree with your truth, even when the mountain sounds like it's in front of me. And tomorrow, what we'll do is we'll spend some time talking about how do we speak to it instead of describing it. So the blessing that I have for you today is your voice strengthens your faith, steady your mind, and weaken every fear that has tried to rise against you. Do not think, so the reflection questions: do you think people talk about their problems more than speak to the truth to them? What is one area where you can speak with more faith? What can you speak with more faith? Why do you think the words matter in these seasons? All right, so I'm gonna put these questions up. How are you going to speak to your truth today? How are you going to speak to your insurmountable problems instead of just sharing them and talking about them and ruminating on them? We're going to begin, and part of it is our affirmations. Part of it is what we say this morning. So, like, we'll